Hi folks, and welcome to Isle of Wight Bushcraft. And in this video I'll be showing you how to make the tunnel tarp. So stay tuned. Well, we all know what a versatile piece of kit the tarp can be. And there are lots of different options that we can use with the tarp. We can have a ridgeline and tarp, so forth. We can make tarp tents and all manner of things. But I thought in this video what I'd like to show you is the tunnel tarp. The benefit of this is it's a little bit sturdier in windier conditions, and if there aren't too many trees about, it's an option that could be used as well. There are lots of different options, as I say guys, but I always think the more options that you've got, then the more versatile you can be when you're out camping. And if you have these various options, then you can turn any one of them to suit the situation that's required at that particular time. So what I'll do is, first things first, is I need to get some, in this instance I'm using Hazel, some Hazel poles. We've got Hazel suckers growing around in this woodland, but any thin tree suckers will do for this. Now I'm using a 4x4 tarp, so I'm going to need my poles to be 4 metres and I would say 4.2 metres, just to allow 10 centimetres to actually dig into the ground either side. But to measure the poles that I'm going to need, I've got a piece of paracord which I've pre-cut to 4.2 metres. So as I say, we've got lots of Hazel suckers around here. There's no harm to the tree in cutting the suckers. They do it coppicing all the time. As I said, you can use any tree really that grows suckers, and kind of you want them not too thick but reasonably sturdy, and we're going to be arching them over. So let's go and find some Hazel suckers to begin with. Okay, so we've got our Hazel poles. They don't have to be, they need to be reasonably straight, but don't worry too much. Now I've measured these just over 4 metres, as I say, because I've got a 4x4 tarp. But if you've got a 3x3 tarp or a 3x4, then obviously you need just over 3 metres and so forth, depending on the size of your tarp. I'm using a 4x4. This is why I've cut these around about 4 metres. And again, don't worry too much. If they're slightly short, that's not a problem. You can have a little bit of a wind skirt actually from the tarp on the floor. So it's not, it's not vitally important. So what we need to do now is we need to take these Hazel poles and just clean them up. I'm using my trusty machete here. Just run it all the way down and just clean these poles up, because we don't want any sharp edges piercing our tarp at all. So there we are. Just run your hand up and down if you feel any like that spot there. If you feel any rough areas, just clean those off. As I say, it doesn't take long. There's a couple there. See, we just don't want those piercing our tarp at all. So it doesn't take long, it just means running the machete up and down the length of them, just making sure that they're nice and smooth. So I've got my length of paracord, so I'm just going to measure these up, like I say, 4.2, or even if they're just under. Don't worry too much, but I want to get them all the same length. Now on a 4 metre tarp you can just use 3 poles, one in the centre of the tarp and one at each end, but I like an intermediary one as well, so you've got one in the centre and then another intermediary and then one at each end. It just makes it a little bit more rigid If there's not too much wind though, 3 would be sufficient. So let's cut these to length and then we'll put the tarp up. Now, as you can see, I've just tied a small loop on the end of my para measuring cord, and that's just so that I can just fit that to the end then and then run the cord along. Otherwise my arms obviously won't stretch 4 meters. So just ping that on the end and then we can run it to the other end and we know we're golden. There we are, just run it to the other end. Just take my knife, put a little marker in there. There we go. Also, what we need to do is we need to cut ourselves a number of stakes just for pegging out. Between 8 and 12, again depending on the wind conditions. So there we are, I've got my poles cut to length, and I'll probably just use 3 this time because there's no wind at all, just for demonstration purposes. But what I'm going to do now is just, I've got the tarp out, just going to peg out the centre anchor point and then put one of the poles inside of that and then arch it over and peg that central part of the tarp out first and then work outward. So we'll do that now. Well, there we are, guys, all pegged out, poles are up, and there we are, that's the tarp tunnel. You could probably get about 4 people in here, sideways on, no problem at all. And like I say, I've just got 3 poles at the moment, because there's no wind, but if you put those 2 intermediary poles in, it'll be even stronger, but it's pretty strong. Going to keep the weather out, keep the wind out, and a really useful sleeping shelter, particularly in you know, inclement conditions, let's say. But again, like I said earlier, it's another option, and as we said, the tarp's very, very versatile, and this is just another option to add to our armoury when it comes to tarp usage. So I hope you found that useful, guys. Well, there we are, guys, that's the tunnel tarp. Not going to use it in every situation, I appreciate that, but like I said earlier, the more options we got, then the more flexibility we can have, and in certain weather conditions this would be ideal. Like I say, you'll easily get 4 in there with kit under there. Keeps the wind out, it'll keep the weather out. A great additional option to have in our armoury of tarp usage. So there we are, guys. A couple of tweaks you'll notice I've made to the channel. I've just shortened the intro. I've had a few negative comments about the intro being a bit too long, or someone said far too long. So I've taken that on board, chaps, and just adjusted that intro. Let me know what you think of that, by the way. And the outro as well is going to be a bit shorter. Tell me what you think in the comments below. And it's going to be a bit of a new look to Isle of Wight Bushcraft, try and keep it a bit fresh. But above all, it must be about bushcraft and the outdoors, because what's not to like about the great outdoors and being out in on days such as this. So I appreciate you joining me, guys. That's all for this video now, but all being well, I'll see you next time. So take care out there, and bye for now. See you next time.